Hi. Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome. Awesome stuff. Hope you guys are having a lovely weekend. So, since I don't want to take too much of your time, um, we'll just go straight into the simulation session. And then once we start, I hope everyone can mute themselves.
Now, a section of President Uhuru Kenyatta's cabinet has taken off the gloves and told off the High Court.
And if you have any towards the course of the meeting, you'll just raise your hand and then I can unmute you. Yeah. So since we're already like 15 guys, so let's start. Start share my screen. So yeah, so my recommended broker is IC Markets. My recommended simulator, the one I'll be using today is Forex, and welcome to today's simulation session. So the way I usually like doing the simulation sessions is pretty simple. Once we start a new simulation, I'll just ask guys at random to select a random one person to select a day, another person to select a date, and then the next person to select a year, so that you can choose the randomest of times. So my time, the times that I have is anywhere from 2010 to 2021. So one person can choose in the charts, one person can choose the year, one person can choose the month, another person can choose the date. 2020, someone use 2020, someone 7th. Okay, let's look at 2020. 2020, June 7th. Fine. So we'll start from 2020. We can start with $1,000 account. We'll try run up maybe 1 or 2 months worth of data, and then we try and see how well that will progress. 1:500, we can put commissions per lot to maybe what is usually there, so $7 per lot. And also have initial data, maybe let's say about 9. I don't think there's anything else. Yeah, so yeah, I think we can start the simulation. So even before I go through setting up the charts, maybe I can put some not ground rules like what we'll be following in the course of this simulation. So I can take you guys to the whiteboard. It's just basically what I usually trade. So what we'll be looking for we'll use a backbone of 4 setups. So we have the first one, which is a rally base rally. Then there's a continuation setup. So we wait for continuation to the upside. So that is the area that we'll be looking for buys. Opposite is true for our bearish setup. So we have drop, base, drop, then price comes back, then we drop the downside. That's the zone. I'm drawing them just simply. Then we have, okay, this is the backbone of what we'll be using. There's also a setup whereby we have reversal setups kind of. But you'll come to realize that these setups are, I might end up taking setups that don't resemble this. Maybe I can actually look for setups that end up breaking such zones. So maybe we end up waiting for a zone to break instead of a zone to hold. So maybe a drop at a place where we're waiting for buy, and buy where other people are waiting for a drop. Okay. So you'll see the rest. You'll see the rest of the information once we continue the session. Then we'll be working, since we're working with about 1 month of data, we'll be going through the 1 hour, 4 hour, 1 hour, and maybe 15 minutes. You can use those 3 time frames to to give us a bias on the entries. So let's share the screen. So as I've said, we'll use the H4. Include H4, H1, and M15. Also, something else that you'll notice is I might end up using one time frame most of the time. I usually like the minimalist idea of using just one time frame to tell me almost everything, because the moment you start looking at other time frames, it's only when you want to clarify something. Maybe when you're seeing a consolidation of zones, that's the only time that I'll find myself going to maybe refine a zone on the high time frame. Most of the time, the case is I'll just be looking for one time frame. So most of the entries will be made on the 1 hour. Things load up. Okay, then we have 15. Okay, so there we have the charts, 3 charts. Everything else. It was just enclose this around. So I think we can start. I think we already have all the charts in place. Now we can start. So straight from where we are right now, we can see that the 4 hour is, that's just, so the whole idea behind how I usually trade is simple. If I'm looking for scalp, I'll just look for, since you're not scalping here, I won't be giving out scalping ideas, but in the case of the intradays and swing trades, the whole idea is I plot two, let's say price, given the level that price is right now, I'll plot two major levels below and wait for price to maybe get to those points, either as targets, and then I have two zones above. So that's how I usually end up plotting my zones, okay? So that means that that usually means that when waiting for entries, price needs to be playing around those areas. If price is not playing around those areas, that means that we do not have an entry at that given time. So we are currently at this level here, that is yeah. So we are at, looking at price right now, what can we be able to see? We've said that we'll be using the 1 hour for entries, and then we'll also be using, if we end up seeing a consolidation of price, maybe as you can see, maybe in this case, we have all this consolidation here. But if we clone this and take it to the 4 hour, you'll notice that the 4 hour is now giving us just a one candle push. So we can choose to either choose this whole kind of area, or we can choose to see something like this. At the same time, we can choose to say that maybe this is too small of an area, and so we can go to the 1 hour, try and refine that zone, get a better push. So now you can see that we will have ended up having a smaller kind of drop from that point there. So that's the whole idea behind what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be looking for levels that price is actually reacting from. So straight off the bat, we can see that price is playing from, let's zoom into this for more, kind of show us where price is reacting from right now. So you can see that if we plot this area, sorry, first things first, look at where price is right now. Then now we plot two zones up, two zones down. So we can choose this area here. We can also we can also choose this area here at the bottom. Then now the reason why I'm selecting, okay, let's also pick the zone up. So we have this area that price reacted from, with this, which is this zone, and then we have this overall zone at the top here. Instead of this, we can choose maybe this zone here. So once we've labeled those entries, yeah. Once we've labeled those entries, the next thing that we'll do is now start looking for. We now start looking for potential entries. So potential entries will be anywhere from wherever price is right now, given the fact that we have seen, you can see that we've had some significant pushes here. So this is an area where institutions were placing orders from. So you can see institutions pushed price to this point, and then price got in fast, left fast. You can see the same thing happened again. Institutions got in their orders, quick in, quick out. So the whole idea is that given that we've seen a quick in from this point, we'll now just be waiting for price to give us a quick out from anywhere around this point. Now, the reason why I'll choose where price is currently is because the origin, rather than all these other minor tweaks that we've seen from this area, we've seen, well, how can I put it? We've seen this is the origin of what happened here, and regardless of what happened here, we broke and then we closed back in and then we pushed up. Seen the same kind of reaction here. And then even if we've seen a break of this low, we'll still be waiting for a bit of reaction from either this point or this point here. So what I'll do is simple. If I end up taking orders from this point, my first take profit will be here, and then my second take profit will be anywhere around here. And then if we keep breaking to the upside, we'll continue pushing towards the upside. That's the whole idea behind what I see happening on this setup here. So we can maybe take the first kind of entries from where we are right now. It's actually interesting because that's where price is playing at right now. Also, something else to note, you see what you're seeing here. If you find this being a little bit too much noise, if we go to, if I create a chart on the daily, let's see if we can find the daily chart. I'll show you more or less what this whole area cloned. We have sorry, daily. Yeah, you can see that the daily has a zone around here. So all that noise that we've been seeing there has been what we've been seeing in the daily. Also, you can see that this whole area has been an area of liquidity. So you can see that we're playing around a demand area. So if I end up taking impulse buys right now, because that's what I'll do, I'll take some impulse buys from this point and then we'll manage the trade as it pushes, because we are at a point where we are seeing liquidity. So that means that if we end up taking buys from this point, we'll need to manage them such that we need not, price needs not to close below this point. If you go below this point, then that means I'll close out of the trade and maybe hunt for buys from this point, because that would mean that we would be taking out a low and then coming to create a new low before price pushes to so this is trade number one. So since you have $1,000 account, maybe we can do, how many pips is this stop loss? You can put a mental stop loss of about, so we can go with about 0.1. And then you can see that the target is fairly big because now we are risking about $100. We've risked about $100. Then we are targeting maybe something like 1,000 wins for this push to the upside. So let's get in there. Okay, I think the spreads are a bit too much. I think we should have changed it, but anyway, we'll still manage price as price moves. So let's see. I think it's because of the gap. Let's see what price does. So we see price, if we can look at that 15. So we've seen this is where market opened, this area here, and you can see that maybe we can plot maybe this as the last bullish candle. So given that this gap can be equated to a drop, that means that we've broken the high on the drop. So we should in essence be seeing a push to the downside before we push to the upside. So if that happens, because that's a confirmation on my end, I can even add a 0.05 position. So we can push with the 1 hour to try and see how price is forming. So we start seeing price push up. And now we have also taken out this week. That means that we should, if we do come back, we will be up for a really strong push because we've not yet gotten to this area here. So the 4 hour is also not showing us anything really interesting. Let's even look at the daily to see what the daily is giving us. The daily is not also giving us anything interesting. So let's just wait. So as I was saying, we would be adding positions from this point. So maybe on the M15, we can add some positions. Let's see how price comes. Maybe so anywhere around this point will be good for entries. Now, given that you're now taking an additional entry here, since this is additional risk, what you would be doing, in essence, your position should be anywhere around here. So your stop loss should be entries here, entries anywhere around here. Stop loss is now either for this added position, you can put your stop loss here. But remember, for the first one, we still had our stop losses below this point. The second one is just to mitigate the risk, because now if we allow this second position to get all the way down, we'll have risked more than expected. But if we only have it till here, we'll have closed at maybe half of that. Or, yeah, we'll just manage that risk like that. So as we've said, we'll take the second position. Let's see how price reacts. So we do see price pushing to the upside. So our target will be this area first, because this is where we saw big drop, similar to if we had bought from here. The place where we saw this big drop from was here. That means we'd be taking partials from that point, and in the event price breaks above that area, then we'll also take profit. Something that I've noticed on the daily, we do have a zone here, so that is coinciding with the zone that we've seen on the 1 hour, I think. Yeah, the 1 hour. So we'll be cautious around this point here. So we do see a break above. So far we are seeing price break above. So in the event price comes back, we will probably be retesting this area here if price drops all the way down. If we look on the 15 minutes, I don't know whether we'll be seeing anything important, but most of the time price won't break below this. We'll just come, maybe take out one low, and then we push to the upside. Let's actually see how the M15 did it. In this case, it did not, but yeah, you can see the expansion that is happening right now. So we've taken out a low, and we are now coming to the 1 hour point we were saying. And given that we have we formed a new high, grabbed some liquidity from this point. We did not get to the exact entry. That means that we still have room to actually push to the upside. So if price gets to this point, I'll probably just take some more positions. If we look at the daily, are we seeing anything interesting on the daily? The daily is still going to be pushing up. Granted, until maybe this high. That's the first target. If you also see a selling opportunity in the course of having this buys, we can also take it. So as we've said, the 1 hour we are looking for maybe entries from this point. Let's see if price pushed all the way down. This price did push all the way down, as we were saying. So you can see that right now we would, let's actually try and add another position. So let's see whether that position will also be going in. Now this one would have its stop loss just below this area, right about this other entry. Let's see what price does. And there we go. Actually, if we would have waited for price to drop all the way down to our area here that we plotted here, let me just we had waited for price to come to this point here, given that we've taken out a high, not gotten to our destination yet. So that means that when price will be coming back down, similar to what I was telling you in the 15-minute, we needed to take out this low because most people will be looking to buy from this point. We push down lower and see that on the M15, it was literally a liquidity grab, and then we pushed to the upside, took out a low, then we pushed up. So the same idea is here. We took out a high, and then we dropped. So I should be expecting us to push on the way now up to this point here. And you can see that we are now hitting our target there. And now we are finally at our destination, that is this fast drop. So however price forms in this place will be interesting. So we have either of three scenarios that might happen here. So we either expect, as price is forming from this point, we either expect a bearish candle to close below this, we expect a candle to close within, or we expect a candle to break this zone here. Either of those situations, we will be looking for entry accordingly. So in this case, we did see price break above. Normally in this case, this will only be confidence for me to actually continue holding the trade. I can't take added buy because if we look at, this range between these two areas, it's a bit too small. So if I will be buying, I will just be buying from here to here, and you can see this candle has already covered for that. So that's really not a setup that I will be looking to trade. Also, let's try and look at the daily to see how price is reacting from our area. So far, yes. Now what I'm doing right now is just waiting to see whether we'll expect some reaction from this point. If you fail to see some reaction, what you can actually do is take some partials and close like this, the one that is closest. We can close that one because it's the one that is farthest away from our premium entry, and then we can let the rest run. So let's continue. Let's hide this history on the chart. Go back to the 1 hour because now we are observing using the 1 hour. So let's go back to the one handles. There we go. So now we are now seeing price sort of like pull back. And the 15-minute price might be coming down on anywhere between this range for us to actually maybe look for additional buys. If price comes all the way down to this point, I can be looking to maybe make an entry. If not, then it seems like I've pushed a bit too fast. But you can see that that's literally what price did. Price came all the way down to this demand area, and then we continued breaking it. So why would I be taking that trade? Because we took out a zone. Actually, we had this zone here. It was broken. The zone was broken, and then we had this range that we were working with. So all I'll do in this case will be, since we do not have a zone on this time frame, which is the 1 hour, I'll now drop to the 15-minute to try and look for a zone around that area. And we were able to find this zone here. So based off the candle that we've gotten here now, anywhere from this point, given that this is a candle that closed back above, we'd be looking for an area of entry anywhere anywhere around this point here. So anywhere from that point to this point would be an interesting area. Stop loss right below this area, and then take profit would be what's the upside. Okay. So also you can notice that if you always take your entries from right around this point, if you often take your, like, let's draw a candle, maybe let's say we're looking for buys from a demand. That means that the candle will be something like this. You can take your positions from either of 3 points. So we have either this high, this candle open, and take it from the candle close or from the candle wick. That means that your entry can be at either, and make an entry from this point, anticipating price to push up. You can take an entry from this point, anticipating price to push up, and you can anticipate price from this point, anticipation of price to push up. Those are either of the three setups that I'd be looking for. Whenever you have a big range like this, sometimes it's better to just, maybe if you don't mind the drawdown, because sometimes price might get all the way down to this point, you can just place your pendings. At this point, you'll almost never miss a trade. At this point, you might end up getting some really good entries, but you might miss some trades. At this point, you might miss almost every trade, but now the good thing about this one is if price ends up touching your area from this, touching your zone from this point, if your entry is at this point and your stop loss is here or right around this area, by the time price is getting to this area, you're already at like 1:1 or 1:2. So by the time price is hitting break even for this person or this person, you're already at something like 1:2. And then by the time price is coming all the way here, you're already hitting a 1:10 trade. So let me see an example that we can find. Plus, you'll also have a lot of room for your stop loss. So let's look at this case, for example. Maybe it's not the best case, but I was just using it as an illustration. Somebody could have taken it from here, or from here. The person who takes it from here has more room for stop loss because stop loss is below here. By the time price is getting to this point, the guy already has a 1:3, 1:5. By the time price breaks through, the guy already has his 1:9, 1:10, and it is a confluence. So I think that's clarified this entry. Let's go back to the section that we're looking at. So let's continue with this. We'll be pushing for hour. Also, you can see that the daily is currently looking like it will break this area. So given that it looks like it will be breaking that area, we can maybe hunt for, if this area, this is not the best kind of setup to be looking for a short. So maybe the other place we can start looking for shorts is somewhere like either this point, or if we look left, we can choose maybe this point here. Now, either of those 2 points will be an interesting place for us to look for sales. Let's try and look for this up one because we'll be seeing break over high, and then price touches this area, and then we drop. Maybe you can drop to fill this range here that is here. But the only issue with this trade will be that we'll have broken a supply, supply area. So our range, the reason why I won't be closing out this buys is because I'll be looking for more buying opportunities at this point here if we end up breaking this zone. If we end up respecting it with a big rejection to the downside, then I'll just close out my trade at break even. Let me actually place my trade at break even. Okay, so both trades are at break even. Now let's just wait and see whether price will break that high. So that's the high of price level is this. This is 1.1720, 1721. So if we break above 1721, which is around here, which is the supply zone, then we should be looking for buys from this area here, this new zone that we formed here. So I can now take this out because currently we've already broken this zone here. So, and this zone. So this is our next target here. Not for entry really, but you can be looking for a turning point here for price to drop back, and then you can push the upside. So continue with this. So price does react in that fashion. People who see me trade know that such kind of a rejection means that price is actually going to push to actually break this area. So if price comes down to this area, I'll take an entry. Push a bit lower, please. It seems like price won't be coming back there. There we go. Sorry. So from 15 slowly because we were looking for that entry. It's actually really fast. Let's just, since we had already mapped that level for an entry, let's place a pending. Don't even go aggressive. Since we're already just adding a position, we're adding a position from that point. So we have 613. I think we'll now start working with pendings instead. Still, yeah, instead of our entries. So I've just put 0.02 times two positions. We've already seen how price reacted to that. Now, in such a case, you can see the same thing has happened again. We had a low, price pushed away, but price came back, took out the low, came into our zone, and then pushed up. And then you can see the whole phase of price pushing and breaking this high has just been within a pretty not too long ago. It's not like too long ago, because even if we look at that case, let me first move this to the side to show you guys. If we had this area here, we took that out. Okay, we have, even in this case whereby we had this low, then the low was taken out. Another case is whereby we had, for this supply, we had this high, then the high was taken out. Okay, this is something that happens almost all the time, whereby you have, if we're looking at a case where we have, let's say we have a zone around here that we're looking to sell from. So price came here and then dropped. So our anticipation normally is really that price will come here and then drop. But how price does it is, it'll come, grab a bit of liquidity, trap people, because most people will be trying to sell from this point. Some people will try and get early, they try and sell from this point. So all these guys have their stop losses above this high. What price ends up doing next is taking out all their stop losses, and then we push in the direction that we wanted. Then this guy will be like, I got in too early or too late. Yes, so those stop losses that are here need to be taken out. The people who are buying from this point, their stop losses below, need to be taken out. The people who are selling from here, their stop loss above, need to be taken out each and every time. The people who are buying from this point need to be taken out. Before they're taken out, after they're taken out, price pushes in that direction. So that's something maybe you guys can take away from it. Then also the the better the kind of like low that we formed. You see, in this case, we've just seen something like a lower time frame kind of zone. I mean, kind of low form, and then we break that low. In other cases whereby you've seen a much stronger low, and then the next one comes and takes it out. So that's the whole kind of idea. Then our target is this range here. Actually, I think I've taken like two positions. That's a place where I can now take some partials. So I come here, take some partial, maybe a close one. So that's the one. This is the one that we've closed out on. Then now we let the rest run, because as you can see, if we go back to the daily, we are now breaking above this daily. And the fact that we've broken above this daily is telling us that we might start seeing price break above, come back, and then give us a continued push. So once the daily closes bullish, I'll be looking for further buys there. Let me see, I can see something in the chat. So, price reacted with the upper zone, which I don't know. Death Note, can you highlight which zone you're saying? I think you were talking about this one, which you can annote. You can annote on the screen. Which zone are you talking about? Which zone are you talking about? Okay, seems like he's not responding. Okay, seems like he's not responding. So we'll be working with pendings from now on. So we have that push there. So we've seen taken out a low. Right. So if you see that price has not come back to your zone, don't be like, I missed the setup, I missed the setup. Because initially I was also saying that maybe we would have taken the setup once we broke this high. It would still have gone in our favor, but it wouldn't be as sweet as what has happened here. And then you can see that the risk to reward ratio has been crazy. Even if I placed it from here, we have 550, we are at something like 1:2. By the time we're getting here, it was already 1:3. So you realize that the risk to reward ratios are 1:3 to 1:5. I mean 1:3 to 1:7. Okay, you can mark death note, you can mark out the zone that you're saying. You can see that you're saying you're back. What zone are you talking about? Okay, it's okay, it's okay. So, oh yeah, oh, to this area that you're talking about. If we go to the 4 hour, I don't think I'd mapped out this area. We had mapped out this one, but yes, price did react to this point. If we would be looking for sell opportunities, all you do is just come and look for, you see this push here, you look for the origin. Why is price reacting from this point? It's because if you look left, you'll find this zone here. Okay, so that means that this is the point to sell from and not this one, because this one is not the source of all these problems. It's like if you have a toothache, you look for the cause of the toothache, so that you can, so because if you go to the hospital and you get your tooth fixed and you're still taking the same ice cream each and every time, that's fixing the tooth is not the problem. The problem is the ice cream each and every time. So you go to the source. So in this case, you come to the source of this. Okay, because this drop, price came back. We saw a liquidity grab to the downside. So even if we saw a reaction from this point, this is more or less the same kind of idea whereby we're talking about a high, and since price is coming back to this area, price will come test that area a bit, not touch it completely, and then continue about its own moves. And then by the time price is coming back, it will be looking for a high to break. Once it breaks that high, because you can see we had this high, test it a bit. And then the moment we start seeing a break to the upside, that means that we are coming to this area here. So yes, so now, since now we are seeing price react from this, if we see a break above this, we'll now be selling from this point here. Okay, so that's the next point that I'm looking to actually sell. But that's just an intraday kind of like sell opportunity as opposed to a long term, because by this one is just telling me price is going to be pushing up. So let's see how the daily closes. The daily actually pushed really strong, as you can see. Let's just push the daily, and there we go. So you can see that the daily broke above. I can even remove everything, and then you can see this green setup. You can see that we have now broken this high. So if we've broken this high, then we're looking for a retest, because price has not yet come to this area here. If you're looking for a retest, then where will you be seeing the retest from? Anywhere from this area, right? But to refine that, instead of just entering blindly from this point, and then we don't know where your stop loss should be, because some people will even end up placing the stop loss here. What you do is now you go to the lower time frame from this level. So now we're looking for an entry anywhere around 1720. So now we'll just go to the lower time frame around 1720. So let's clean this up. 1720 is anywhere around here. Okay, 1720 around here, right? So anywhere around here is where we'll now be waiting for our buy opportunities. But now, since we do not have these areas, sorry about that. Sorry about that. I think somebody logged in my Zoom from another computer. So I just hope this is recording. Yeah, it's recording. So now, since we don't have a zone from this point and we don't to take a trade from a broken high, because this would be trading swap zone, I think, or a broken zone, you need to take, you'll notice that all my trades are being taken from zones. Other than this one where we saw the break of a high, all of my trades have been taken from zones. Even if you don't see an actual zone, you've actually been taking the zone here. I've seen this multiple times whereby you have where there's a wick, there's a zone most of the time. So even in this case, we'll probably be seeing price come back all the way to this point, or maybe this area here. Anywhere around those points will be interesting because price will be pushing down to those areas. So we have said that we'll be taking some intraday sells. So if the price gets to our said level, then that means we'll be looking for sells anywhere from around. Actually, I think we've tapped it, but if we see price come back to this area because it's not yet. Price comes back there, let's put some pendings there. I think we'll close out on buys from this point. Let's see. So buy position, close out. Close out. We'll still maintain this ones here. But ordinarily, I would have closed maybe partials around this point, partials. So now we are placing pendings for shorts from anywhere from that area. So all I'll be waiting for is just a break of this high. If this high is broken, brings me to here, then we can short it to the downside. And then what kind of risk am I looking for? I'm looking for maybe, let's measure this. So stop loss is just 40 pips. Target is maybe this area first that we've marked in. So 40 pips for this, that's a 1:5 already till this point. So I'll place my pending now. So let's say 550. Place a sell limit from that. Let's also put 560. So please, since we have more of our account, we can go a bit higher in terms of risk. So let's go back to maybe try and see how the 15 was forming. Okay, seems like the 15-minute price did not. Okay, let's see whether we'll see that break above. Okay, seems like we've not seen the break above, but we are still seeing price push up. So ideally, we've now seen, okay, let's see, price might not reach the top zone, but it's just reached it. Let's now see how price will be reacting from this point. We have seen a break above a high. We are working with a small stop loss, so let's see whether that plays out. So there we have it, guys. So we've seen a break of that high. Now price is pushing back down. So the only reason why I would be closing out of this position is you can see price is stalling around this area. If we look at the 4-hour, do we see anything on the 4-hour? Price is definitely going to be reacting from this area. So if I draw an area, remember how I was saying that we have one big area, but then you look at the source of all those problems. So the source of this drop was because of this area here. So we come and then we plot this area here. So price will be reacting from anywhere around this point. And then our stop loss will be below this wick. And then anywhere below that wick. But now think about it this way. If your entry is here, if your entry is here and your stop loss is all the way down, that's about 100 pips, right? By the time price is going all this way, you'll only be at a 1:2 after all those number of pips. So how can you minimize that? You can either take your position lower, maybe so from this point, you by the time, so you risk about 50, you gain 300, so that's a 1:6 as opposed to 1:2. So if you end up picking a position from here, that means that you'll have even less room, because now with this wick, you'll now be using this whole area as our zone. If you go down to the lower time frame, actually, let's see, you'll see that we have an M15 zone from that point. So yeah, so you can see that we have this whole area here. Remember this same area that we're looking at? Yeah, so if price ends up breaking below this wick, to just be testing this area and then we push to the upside. Since our buy positions are positioned well in terms of stop loss, and we have our daily confirmation that price is forming a liquidity grab to push to the upside, so we will be pushing all the way down to 1706, maybe. Let's say 1706. I'll have my entries up to 1707. So that is 1777. So we'll have our buy limits from that point. So anything from that point. So we're using the liquidity from the sells to push to the buys. And then an added confluence for the buys is the fact that we've also seen just this zone has just been wicked. We've just accumulated, or we just like rejected it really quick. That means that we will be testing those highs once more. So we will be coming back all the way to this point. So that's where we'll be taking profit of shorts. Yeah, we can go to 15. Maybe let's do 1 hour for time. It seems like price is pushing back up. And even add another sell based off what you're seeing here. So we've seen price needs to create new structure here. So we've seen this zone being formed. Remember how we were saying price does something like, price does something like this, and then we see we have a zone here. So since we had structure from long time ago, price needs to create new structure, and then that structure needs to be respected for price to drop. So now we're waiting for this low to drop here. And since we've taken out this demand and this demand here, just look for a point where I can sell from, and then have stop loss maybe above this point. Then since we've also tapped this area for liquidity, we now need to break this point. Maybe come to this area and this area and this area. So let's see. So there we go. We have a drop. We have a drop, and now despite these ones going less into profit, we still have orders from this point. That means that since we'd already taken some partials from this point, even if this trade goes against us, we'll now have volume of like equity from these shorts here to the downside. And since these shorts from here were taken on, the equity from pushing up, we're able to use more lots here. That means that this drop should be able to accumulate some interesting volume for us to actually even add positions that we're adding from this point. So I don't remember how many positions have we placed as pendings. We just placed 1, 2, 3, 4. I think we'll add a bit more because we'll have a lot of volume from the drop down. So we have 1, 4, I think anywhere around there. So I think we're using like a 0.02 or something. So see, seems like we're now pushing in, so I can start coming to my trades and closing these cells. Now start closing the cells. Because I know that anywhere from this point, price may be reacting heavily. So let's close this. Then now let's see how price reacts from this point. So the 4 hour. This might or might not. Okay, we've been spoken a bit too early, but we've been triggered in. Let's see how price reacts. So as you can see, this is exactly what we're talking about. This low has been taken out. Low taken out. Reacted from this wick, which was a zone on the 4 hour, I mean on the 15-minute. Then the moment we've seen that, we are now starting to see a rejection. So as long as price stays above this zone, we're okay. The moment price breaks back above this zone, we'll be at a very comfortable place in terms of our position. Because now we have positions from here and we have positions from here. We can even put them at break even and we can wait for how price will be reacting. And as I've said, we have done exactly that. If you go down to the 1 hour, you'll also notice that we have what I call the final push. Price formed the final push, took out a low. And the whole idea behind the final push is this. Think about what we've been talking about this evening. So we have most of the people will be placing there, given that they've seen price reaction from this point, they'll be placing their pendings from this point. And they'll be placing their stop losses just below this point here. So the moment they keep, many people have placed their orders from this point, the brokers register these price levels as a place where stops have been placed. The institutions, because all those orders have to be filled on the system. So the algorithm knows that there are many stop losses that are here. So all those stop losses need to be hit. There are people who bought from this point. There are also people who bought from this point after they saw price price was turning bullish. And then this person had their stop losses here. So all the stop losses are taken out by one candle. And then after that one candle has taken it out. Actually, if we had our pendings here, you can see that we literally have no drawdown. So after this stop losses are hit, price goes on in its own kind of fashion. We did take positions from this point, but I've seen this happen too many times. I wouldn't even have closed the trade unless I see a close back below this point. So yeah, so that is that. Now let's try and see if what we might end up seeing is price react from this point, give us some sort of drop to this point, then we see price push to the upside. So that's why I'm not yet putting them on break even. Okay, it seems like we have now taken out, given that now we've taken out this zone, we will now place this buys at break even. You can see this somebody in the chat. And we look at GBP analysis before the end of the session. When that time comes, we'll have a look. So now we have gold pushing up. We're not using any crazy lots, we're just using 0.02 lots. So we're currently up 125%. So we'll be taking partials from this area here as the first one. That's the first area we'll be looking to take profit. Also, if you use the confluence of the daily, you can see that the daily literally just wicked that area and then we pushed. So this is the point that we'll be looking to take out profits. Let's see. Here's another area to buy from. If you felt like you needed to add another buy position, you can actually maybe do the positions from this point. The whole idea is we have taken this zone out. And we have now formed a low. We did not touch it, so the low needs to be broken for us to push to the upside. So that's exactly what we'll now be waiting for. In this case, we have seen price stall. There's something I was going to say. When you start seeing price stall around your area, you can actually close out on that position. Let's see if you have any added information maybe on the 4-hour that would have guided us. Also, the 4-hour closed with a huge rejection wick. Okay, so I still have confidence that this will be pushing up. Maybe we'll be pushing now up from this area here. So I'll place some pendings from this point. So let's see, I mean, from where price is. So we have 712. Place some buy limits from there. So we'll be waiting for this low to be taken out if price will be coming all the way down. And you can see that's the same kind of reaction that we've seen. The 1-hour, you can see that it doesn't look like anything on the 1-hour, but if you go to the 4-hour, as I was telling you guys about refining, you find the area where we grabbed liquidity before we pushed. So the whole idea is when you have, I might be sharing, I'll be sharing so many ideas by the way. So I hope you guys have a pen and a paper. So let's think about it like this. When candlesticks, I think even the most, even almost all groups actually share about this. When you have candle has a weakened body. And for strong candles, what usually happens is when they're forming, most of the time what happens is they'll start maybe when you're starting out, they need to form the wick, grab enough liquidity, grab enough orders. Then once they've taken enough orders, it goes in your favor. Okay, it goes in the favor of the buyers. So if we take it as an idea whereby we are in a fight between bulls and bears, the bears try to win the battle, but then when the bulls have accumulated enough orders, we see price pushing in their favor. And that means that if the bulls are buying from this area, if the bulls are buying from this area, that means that this is an area of interest. Normally what you'll do is if you go to the lower time frame and you look up this kind of wicks, you'll find that where there's a wick, there's a zone. You guys have probably heard me say that a lot of times on my IGTV videos. Where there's a wick, there's a zone. So that was the whole idea. But just don't trade them blindly, because you see, if you're looking here, you will have traded, if you will have traded this area here, that means you will have been trading it blindly. You have to use it in confluence with something else. So in our case, we're using a confluence that we had broken. Let me go back to the 1-hour. We had broken this supply. So that means we'll be looking for an entry from either of those points. And the fact that we've tried to break below and we failed too many times, that means that we'll now just be looking for this area that I had mapped out for price to react outside. So let me clear out the chart. Now, target is still those lines that we're saying. Looking at the daily was just a rejection. Let's see if price reacted from. If price starts dropping, okay, what we're seeing is price has closed below. We are probably just coming to test this area here. I honestly, we have enough volume from all these positions. I don't think I'll close that. But if you are taking it in terms of a long-term trade and you see a close below with this candle, you just close it. And since your entry is really, really low and almost close to like the area, you will have just closed it. So I think I can close. Let's see if we are seeing any formation. We'll close out on these ones here. Here, so we have these ones here. I'll not close out on all of them because I still feel like price has momentum to the upside. Yeah, there we go. It's just unlucky that we've closed out on that position, but Once the trade is in profit, we will make up for all those. It's a lot of consolidation and accumulation of orders. So maybe from what you guys have learned, we have a zone here. Price breaks this low and comes down here, we'll probably be seeing price pushed upside. It's just my 2 cents. Since we already have positions from around that area, I won't bother with it. In this case, we did not see price. Oh my gosh. Okay, we didn't see price push back down and break that low. In that case, we will have missed that trade. This is what has been happening to me this week. We've not been taking out lows, which is sad. But now we look, 4 hour has closed bullish and we've closed we've closed above this area. So that means if price is going to come back to actually test our zone, test our area, that means that we'll be testing anywhere from this point here. So this is an area here that we'll be looking to. And if we clone this and look on the other time frames, maybe the 1 hour, you'll see that this is coinciding with either this zone or this area here. If you don't want to miss a setup, you can choose to use this. If you want to be conservative and wait for a sniper entry, you can wait for this one here. Either way, I'm looking for an entry from that area there. So I think you can continue. Let's be on the market so that we can wait and see if you can be finding any entries. So it seems like price was pushing up heavy. Just drop down a bit. Okay, no, no drops, but we've broken above this area here. That means that we should be seeing price push a bit further up. On the daily, you can see that the daily also closed above this high. We are now playing around this point here. If we, since we don't have a valid area of drawing a zone from, let's look at the 4 hour. The 4 hour has a zone that you can plot. So we have this area here. If this kind of close ends up happening, remember we were saying that we'll sell from here. Even if I had sold from here and I see price reject it and close below, I'd automatically close that trade. Because what might happen next is this liquidity that has been taken out needs to be filled. So that needs to be taken out. But we are seeing some pretty strong bullish pressure. So let's see if we broke, and you can see that we did end up breaking it. So that means if we broke it, we need to start looking for areas where we can buy. And this is maybe if, let's look at the daily. So the daily is not telling us anything really strong, but if we choose to make an entry or buy here, it will be because of this. If we choose to make a more reserved entry, it will be because of this shenanigans that is happening here. So maybe you can place one buy here, or two or three, and try and see if price will react from that. If it fails, we just wait for, we just close this one out and wait for a better entry around here. So I'm not liking the entry that we're seeing. So I'll automatically just come here, close out on close that out at close to like break even. This more or less like break even. I'll leave out one because I know price will eventually come to feel that range there based off the structure that we've seen, but now we're looking for a better entry. Now we are coming towards our entry there. Remember how I was saying that we'll be buying from that point there. So I'm now looking for an entry from this area here. So any if price, let's place our pendings around here. Let's say 485. Okay, no, seems like that's not close. So this let's see. So remember how we were saying this area. So that's an area that we may be seeing price react from. Now we are being cautious. Caution is when we see such kind of. I most of the time fear this because this is most of the time affirmation of a zone. Like price rejects, forms an indecision candle, and then we see a drop. But I'll be watching it closely. But now since we've seen a continued push to the upside, then that gives me confidence in terms of holding it, but still not that confident. So given that our stop loss was just below this area here, we're still at a good point. So even with this liquidity, but if we were watching this closely, we had a push up, drop, push up, drop. So price did come and touch this, take out a wick, take out a low, come here, entry, push it upside. But technically, price is still going to continue pushing up. So if you have questions, can you also enter? I think I'll be leaving my charts so that we can see. Death Note is really asking some good questions. So maybe since you're not looking at the lot sizes, I can place it here. Then this, we can place it here. So let's continue. Okay. And since we've now filled the range, since we've now filled the range, let's look at the hourly, make the daily. Daily has now taken out this high. That means that should we continue pushing up, the next point that I'll be looking to take profit is if I measure this range on the downside, this was our range on the downside. That means we have about 7,000 pips towards the upside. So I'll still be working. I'll be waiting for that option. If you don't have the weekly data here, you'll just be working with the daily data here. So now let's push maybe the 4. So if you feel like you want to add a position here, there's still an accumulation of price. We can even add some more buys from that point. Have interesting entries. Let's see where our price will react. And you can see that even on the daily itself, we still have a good area to buy from. We have this zone, price comes to this zone, push up. So let's try and now manage this position. And these ones will break even. We have positions. We have a lot of positions. They're all on break even anyway. So let's try and see whether we can find. We don't have any. We've taken out this, but we don't have any place for buys. That means this might actually just push up from that point. Let's actually see how this reacted from that point. You can see, since you don't have any structure here to play with, price will just play around this point. Just need to maybe take out a lower or high and then price continues in its fashion. It's basically how this works. So another place where you can wait for entry now is this point here. Let's place some pending and see how price reacted from that point. 27. So pending 8. 8 was it 827? 827. So we have positions from that point. Just placed some buy positions. Let's wait and see how price reacts from that point. So we have seen again low taken out. In this case, we did not get triggered in, which is painful because I had so I wanted to have some positions there, but seeing the low being taken out, then price testing. Let's put price for it. Okay, so we've been triggered in, not in the best way, but it's because price is now coming to this point here. So I can choose to close this position out. That's the only good thing about having a lot of volume. It's I mean not volume, a lot of orders from below, because you have enough profit to play with. We can let this one run into a bit of drawdown, but if you feel like adding a position, you can actually add a position. So assuming that I'm placing the buy that I may place right now there, I think of it like it was from this point. Imagine it was this point, because this was the next area here. If you look on the floor, it was definitely a zone. You can see it's definitely a zone. Okay, there we go. So if price breaks below this, I'll just close this ones in a loss, and then we'll just continue. Yeah, I think price will be dropping down. So you can see now we are in profit, but since we're just tapping this area, because a tap and go, stop loss below. Now this new entry that was supposed to be here has been taken into account, and now we are at break even with these positions here. And now, given that we are still playing at this point, I don't like how price is falling. If we break below, I'll just close out with the trades. And this is the beauty of getting entries from the right place. Because now you see, if we took our entry from this area here, this zone here, all this back and forth, back and forth, back and forth will not be hindering us in terms of negative drawdown. It will just be price coming to entry, not going into drawdown, going into little small bits of drawdown, then pushing back up, a little bit of drawdown again, pushing back up, similar to what we've seen in the other cases. But if you take it in between the range between this point and this point, price does a lot of accumulation of orders. So you will really be sitting on the edge of your seat every single day. See how price push. Yeah, price is now going to be pushing up definitely. Let's look at the 4 hour. What is the daily telling us? The daily is telling us that price is bullish. So we're seeing some interesting formations in the daily. Again, too much drawdown that I don't like, because we did not get our positions at the proper places, but yeah, too much of drawdown. If price comes back to entry, I just close it. Just close out on these positions, because I don't like the way price is playing around my entry. So I think it's the most recent ones. Yes, this one's. I think I've closed one that wasn't close. But if price does push down, I'll maybe look for it. Let's continue. Now that we've broken this supply, we can now start looking for demand. So here is our demand. We've gotten a bit too late, but imagine that we're taking the position from this point. It's just to show you guys. Imagine we're taking it from this point. If we took it from this point, basically we'll be having minimal drawdown. But if price breaks below this, then we'll just be closing out the position. So you can imagine the kind of how do I put it? The kind of risk reward you will be getting from this position here. You can see you have a stop loss of maybe 87 pips, and by the time price is getting to you here, that's about 1:7 already. Like I was telling you guys, and you can see we finally see the push up, and yeah. So we've now seen the break above. Daily was accumulating a lot of orders there. Yeah, so the daily is continuing with a push to the upside. If we see a retracement, will be coming down to this. So we will now put this around that break even. Yeah, so if price comes back to this point, we'll probably be taking. Let's now look for another area. 15-minute, probably this has turned from a 15-minute zone given the volume. Now just look for an F5. Okay, there's no zone literally, and price is pushing hard. Price is pushing hard. Yeah, price is pushing really hard. I think I'll given the push that we've been seeing that we've okay. Remember how I was saying that we have this range here. So the range was 80.85, around 80,000, 85,000. So you can see where we are getting at right now is about 85,000. I was telling you the range has to be filled towards the upside. If I'm specific about the range and we take it from the swing high to the swing low, then we take this and double it up. You'll notice that we are now sitting around the area where we should be taking profit. So I can comfortably, even if price starts from those points, I can comfortably start taking profit from this area here. So I come to my trades, I can maybe, I don't want to close the ones at the low, I want to close this one to the least profit. So take this out, take this out, take this out. So now we have, and let me also take out this two breakers. And this one 78. So that we have this range to work with now. If price pulls back down, that means we'll be pulling back down to maybe this area here, where we had our buys. So price may be coming back here for us to maybe make back buys. In the meantime, since price is in a strong rally, we can probably wait for price to actually start maybe dropping a bit. We can try, let's wait and see. So we have another zone here to work with, another 4-hour zone. So we can place spendings anywhere around here. So and place spendings at yeah. So given the momentum that is, seems like the momentum did not have anything about pulling to such kind of area. So I'll just come here, remove those spendings because they are not playing. Yes, it's not playing according to what we want. So something interesting is now going to be happening just around here. Now, okay, normally I know that price last year price was turning around from 2000 maybe. So we still have I know in my head that I'm showing you guys that maybe if price now pushes from 1,000 to maybe this point here, we might be looking for a turning point from that area. But how we'll be looking for it is simple. We'll be looking for a drop. I mean, how do I do it? We'll be waiting for price to push up, price to push up, break, and then look for an entry to the downside. That's all I'll be looking for. But I can't be looking for it on the 1 hour, because on the 1 hour, and you can see the momentum is strong, bullish. Yeah. Yeah, so where will we be looking for orders next? Maybe we can look for a short opportunity. Maybe not. Let's look for a short opportunity on the 4 hour, even if it's an intraday one. Okay, so let's just close everything, and then now we can start all over again. So we can close all. Now we can start looking for other kinds of setups for block. So we have formed a demand zone on the daily. I mean on the 4 hour. That means that price has either of two things to happen. So price either has pushed the upside or drop. And if the drop happens, it will be dropping all the way to this point here. You can see that price followed the line. So interesting. We have this zone here. Let's maybe try and think of shorts this time. So we have this zone here. Price has formed a high, and now we need to take out that high before we start going to the downside, right? So what I said. So given that we're going against a really strong trend to the upside, it would have been better if we first of all saw a drop below this area. But now, since we've not seen that, let's just wait and hope that the break above this high and our entry from this point will hold towards the downside. Then we'll now be taking an aggressive position from this point, an aggressive stop loss maybe around this point or this point. Then you'll be targeting this low to be taken out and price to come all the way down to this point here. We can be lucky if price does more than that, but how many pips? 3108. Place some sell stops. Wait, no. Yeah, send it. Probably placed like 10. That's that's something like 0.02 something. Price did come back down. Okay. Fortunately, price did drop all the way down. Oh, remember this day. So daily has dropped all the way down. So should we come to this point, first of all, delete all of those. Okay. We'll now be coming to this point for sales. So we can either turn from that point or turn from this point. So if we go to the lower time frame and we look for price a zone around 1982, come here and we look, you can even see even on this one, you don't have a zone of 1982. But let's wait and see. Anywhere from this point, we can actually place some pendings. Okay, let's look and see whether we have a zone. So we have this zone here, the hourly. Maybe you can take one side to kind of see how price reacted to this. I wouldn't like this kind of setup because we formed a demand zone just before price pushes here, and the safest will be waiting for price to break below this. But okay, it actually respected that zone way better than I would have expected it to do, and Okay, so I still feel as if price has some bullish momentum to the upside. Yeah, there we go. But we'll eventually still. Okay, so by the time we take out this high, I would now be closing out on that position. So maybe let's push them in. Granted though we were in some good profit here. I will just place it at break even and then it will have been stopped out. So let's push to where this price broke the high there. So we close out. Yeah, let's close that out. Let's continue for another setup. But we might be breaking this and then we push all the way maybe to, might not come all the way to this point, but we're probably just breaking away. Do we have anything valid on the 15? No, we don't have anything valid there. Anything on the daily? The daily is probably pushing till this point here. So let's push it to the. Okay, we're coming to our area of interest, which is this area here. Yeah, which is this area here. So maybe we can place spendings around that point. So hopefully the spendings will be. So we have, yeah, this range has to be filled to the downside because you can see the daily did break these two demand areas here. So we need to react from that point. Fortunately, we did not get to that point, but we did see the reaction that we were anticipating. So for the past, I think 3 pendings we've seen the pendings get missed and price push in its direction. But anyway, price will push back up to this area and then drop further. So we can even take the cells that I was calling from this point and then wait for the lows to be hit just like that. Close all. I think you guys have gotten maybe a glimpse of like how I do it. I wanted it to be a 1 hour 30-minute session. So we are currently 1 hour 28 minutes in. I call it a simulation session. So let's do a summary of what you've seen. So we've seen a couple of things. We've seen um also in the charts you can maybe say what you've learned from this session because I know I think you've learned something. Maybe in terms of entries, in terms of exits, and maybe share something that you've learned. So I'll go through like 5 minutes run through. So first things first, zones. We have a zone. Zones are mostly are areas of turning points. That's what you guys have seen. So for buy case, we have that. For selling case, we have price doing something like this. Okay. For buy case, we also have price. Though we've not done this as much, but we've seen a case whereby we have price drop like this, and then what people will call a double bottom and a double top. Then the inverse is true for a sell setup. So we've not seen more. It might have happened a lot of times, but that's not what I usually look for, really. So those are the first cases that you notice that I've been looking at. Okay. The second one has been so that was the first one. Let me push this a bit up so you can see. So yeah, so we have this zones here, this zones here. Now we go into how price drawing the zone is one thing. And normally what I'll end up doing is, if you just don't want to wait for candlestick confirmations, you'll place your entries at either of 3 points. Let me change the color, with green showing where your entries for buys can be. So you can either buy from this point and buy from the middle point, or you can buy from this point here. The inverse is true for sells. You can sell from this point here, sell from midpoint, or you can sell from this point here. Those are 3 points that you can sell from in terms of placing pendings. Now, something that you may have seen happen today and happen interestingly has been in the cases where price drops down a bit, which is a bit higher, and then drops all the way down, and then you see price react, feel a range. So given that this is our range here, so to note is that we have a low and a low taken out. So even in a case where something of a case similar to this, we have a high formed, high taken out. So that means that we have, let me use the arrows. So we have this from a high, and then that high comes a bit, and then the high is taken out. Excuse me. And then we go about our range until we feel the range that is here. So that's another setup that we've been seeing. Also, something to note is we've been monitoring. Oh, something else that we've noticed is that you should not place your entries from anywhere in between this range. Anywhere between this range. Don't get in between this high end, this area. Anywhere between here will give you massive drawdown. So problem with mid-range entries. We have more risk to reward ratios. Then we have excessive drawdown. Okay, basically these are the main ones. These are the main ones. Plus, no one wants to have a bad entry. So we have that, and we have. So that means don't take positions within a range. Identify a range, start and a range, and then you can trade from that. Something else that you've probably learned. I think since we didn't use these ones, I won't be looking a lot about them because most entries have been based off this kind of setups. Then we also had another thing that I showed a lot. Maybe let's take the case of a bullish kind of setup. So we had a case whereby we had bullish setup, and then we had price push up, come to this setup again, and then we now see price push up, and then now when price is coming back down, we were having a bigger range a bigger zone here. And so instead of placing your buys from this point, so again, if I maybe say that you're buying from this point, you would not buy from this point here. Instead, not buy from this point. Instead, you should come and look left until you find the origin of your zone. So if you can refine this zone here, we'll now use the origin of the zone because this is the origin of this push and it's the origin of this push. So we'll use that origin of this push to actually give us an entry. So we'll be taking the entry from this point here. Okay, so the entry will be from that point, and then we anticipate price to push to the upside. Something else we've noticed has been liquidity pushes. If we end up seeing, I don't know whether you guys noticed it, but I was not really showing much about it, but liquidity pushes are interesting. So if we have a previous liquidity grab from that point, so let's say, oh, I think I'm doing it wrong. Let's take a bearish candle, and then the bearish candle comes all the way the first time and wicks an area, and then now we draw that area as a zone. Sorry, my dog is making a lot of noise. So we have that liquidity push. So that means that most of the time people will be buying from this point here. So if people are buying from this point, that means the stop losses will be below this area. And as expected, what now you'll be waiting for is for the new candle to come in. Sorry, the new candle to come in and still give you a rejection, but you'll be waiting for this low to be taken out. Once this low is taken out and you use it in confluence with a setup like this, whereby you look left from this area. So all you'll do is you'll first of all, since you don't know what will happen here, first of all come here, draw a straight line to your left, try and look at the origin of maybe a zone that is around here. Then from that point, it will line up with a break over low, entries here, and then yeah, exactly. Yeah, some people are trying to call it a weak fill because they try to get the weak fill most of the time. Yeah, but basically what happens is in the lower time frame, price is now given the final push, and then you now start seeing price push. And I think those are the most major. So maybe I can write liquidity pushes, liquidity groups. Yeah, let's place it there. So we have liquidity grabs. I think we did not. We also written original zone. So you'll see me when I'm posting. Most of the time, I'll have something written 40, and that's origin of the move. So that's the point there. So I think we have that. I think those are the main things that I'll be looking for. So we have this setups here, continuations. We have this. There's somebody who's saying, can you also enter that zone? Okay, that was a bit. Yeah. Yeah. So what I learned is that the recent lows or highs will be taken out before we get a zone and see exactly. Yeah. Because most of the people are buying from trying to sell mid-range, most of the people, like in this case, people will see price coming back to this high, start trying to buy from this point. Even many people have programmed their own bots to take lows and highs. So if they're buying from this point and their stop losses are here, these orders need to be filled before we see price push to the upside. Take a snip of this so that you can have it accessible to you guys. Just take print screen. Okay. Yeah, so that's it, man. Hope you guys have had a good session. There's also some more or less announcement. So a lot of people have been saying they've been seeing the community that I've been having, and they wanted to maybe be part of it. So there's something that's going to be coming up probably in the next 1 hour or so. You can just check the stories. to make the live sessions that we've been having every day, almost close to every day, accessible to almost everyone together in the community. So to make it at least more affordable. It's not a discount, but it's something that is going to be more affordable. So yeah, hope you guys have a good weekend. See you guys. Oh, sorry, somebody had told me to check on GBP USD. You want to see the market outlook for next week? Let's actually do a market outlook. Let me open how many. Um, so you guys can see my screen. Mm. Will this recording be available? It'll only be available for I think 1 or 2 weeks, and then I'll close out. I'll make it. I'll not make it available again. I don't want it to be available for like so long. So we were going through XAUUSD. We'll go through XAUUSD, but first of all, let's look at GBP USD. Let's look at it. So GBP USD, we have a look at the daily. You've seen that what I've been looking at mostly is the daily for buyers. So GBP is at an interesting point because we are now reacting to this supply zone that is here. And we've seen more or less a big candle drop, and then we came back to start pushing back to the lower upside. So if we look at the weekly, I still feel as if we have a lot of range to fill on the weekly till this area here, based off what we've been doing in terms of like the live sessions. We've been anticipating continued buys until we get to this point, meaning that we need to take out these lows, these highs, then we fill this range. And you can see that if we come here and then we measure maybe this range from here to here, you'll see that that's about, let's say, 400. And you can see this one is almost close to exactly 800 pips. So that means we need to come to this area. And the reason why we're saying that area is because you see this drop that is here was because of this zone here. We can also argue that it's also because of this zone, but basically we saw drop, and then we saw drop, and then we saw drop. So I'll be looking to continue seeing longs probably until we get to this point, whereby we'll also end up taking out this. Most of the people are trying to sell this, but the whole idea is if you try and sell it now, we do have so much orders that people have placed, so many sell stops. Sell stop loss orders that are here that need to be taken out by one strong push, and then we get to there's 1.45, anywhere around 1.45. You can see it lines up with 1.45 to 1.47, anywhere around there. It's going to be good for shorts to start taking it out. And then once you get a good entry somewhere around here, you start hunting now for, like, since you've gotten your main entry, you'll now be hunting for, similar to what we've seen on the simulation, you now start hunting for points to add positions from. Add positions, maybe there you add positions again, because you have volume from the first position that is here. So if maybe we'd had this session beforehand, you'd have maybe more or less bought somewhere like here, because we'd still be looking for buy opportunities until we get to fill this liquidity pools. So that's my view on GBP USD. So maybe I know you guys are you're looking things up. Then we have it's also the same thing we've been seeing on GBP JPY. Yeah, you can see what usually happens on GBP JPY is similar to what happens on GU. So what happens on GU has usually already happened on GG. I don't know if it makes sense, because we've already seen GJ tap this liquidity area here, and then drop, and then come back and then break that high. So this is exactly the same thing we're waiting for. We're waiting for for GU to now come and break that high, and then now we come to this area here on GJ, which is we'll hit this in the next week. We'll hit this area in the next week, probably just above 500 pips, and then now we can start to drop it. Given the fact that we've seen GJ push a significant amount, we'll just wait for maybe another 1 or 2 weeks price to push up. We might even see a stronger push because most of the people are trying to sell from this point. Orders are taken out, and then we see price reverse from that point. So confluence is a break of this high and a break of this high, this high. You can measure the ranges, you'll notice that this is a 398. So maybe anywhere from around 400. So let's say from here, anywhere from here will be a good position to start thinking about maybe looking at the shorts. Out of the way, we now look at gold. Gold, you can see I already have my alert around 1860. It's because we have this supply zone that we are working with anywhere from this area, the supply zone. We'll be taking shots to this area and then maybe thinking about levels to now maybe fill these areas here. We might not get all the way up to these points, but the whole idea is we're looking for this kind of roadmap whereby we have this area here. We also have this. We have those two areas here. So we are trying to short and then go low. So we're trying to push this, come down, push up, then maybe we can continue. And the reason I'm trying to buy from this point is because I missed out. I missed out on the buy orders around this point. So since I missed out on those buy orders, where can I capitalize on maybe entering in on those buys? So at this point, maybe if we end up breaking even further down, we might push down to this area here, maybe as a liquidity grab, then we now push up. So I'll use this volume of shorts actually go long. That's on the weekly, but if you go down to maybe the daily or the 4 hour, you'll notice that we are still seeing, I don't know, we are seeing so many people sell from this area here. So many people are trying to sell this because they're seeing it as a double top. So we need to take out all those orders to this point and then see it. Might see price return from anywhere from 1860 to 1870 maybe. Might even see price come all the way up to this point here. But point is, as long as we stay above, we stay below 1870, which is this point, we'll need to see price drop to that area. If you end up taking this trade, maybe this will probably hit on Monday. Monday, this position will definitely be hit during New York. Then you see a drop to the downside. Once this happens, and then you end up hitting some profit, don't forget me. You can send me a 10% on either of those trades that you've called. So yeah, so you can mark. You can maybe how you can take this is maybe you can manage this such that you can take the first order maybe at 1855 if you don't mind to draw down, but you take a small position, maybe like 20% of your position. Then you can take 60% of your position around here as the main one, around 1860, 1865. Then normally, if you can place prime position here, so maybe another 20%. Wait, no, 20% here, 60%, another 20% here. So that by the time price is going in your favor, okay, I wouldn't. This one is only for people who, not this one. The 1855 one is only for people who feel like they'll be missing out on the drop. Basically, just wait for 1860, 1859. for one, you can place half at 1859 and half at 1870. Yeah, yeah, I think that's done. Is there any other pair? USD CAD. USD CAD is still dropping. So yeah, USD CAD is still dropping. We'd mapped out this area, I think, on Monday. This was an area on the hour, on the 8 hour, I think. Yeah, there's a zone on the 8 hour. Reacted to it perfectly. We had mapped this, I think, on Tuesday or Wednesday. Is there any other pair? Is any other pair? Next one is asking for any other pair. So those are the setups that I'll be looking for next week. Those are the setups that I'll be looking for next week. This is a pair that has been giving me a lot of headaches of late with missed entries. But given that we've seen price finally hold in this daily demand, seen price hold at this daily demand, and we've seen price come close to break above this area, that means that this level is going to hold for buys. So that means we'll still probably be filling this whole area. But before we fill that area, and plus we've broken above this, so Monday will probably give us a setup around this point here, or just consolidate around this point just a bit, then push up. But we are coming to this area here, so I don't know if we have anything on the yeah, price is probably going to be coming to this test either this area or to this area. So we'll see slight drop come to test this area or this area with confluence of this zone to this area. Then we see push to the upside. It's going to be interesting. So do you have any other set? No, I don't think we have any other. Your JPY is still bullish. Yeah, your JPY is still bullish. Yeah, but we are tapping some interesting level. If we don't react off this area this week and see maybe a drop down a bit, then that means that we'll be breaking it and pushing to this area, anywhere between this area. If you tap this area, just think about selling and use it in confluence with sentiment. Just wait and start selling. If you'll be part of the live group, based off, we're switching from a one-time fee to a subscription per month, whereby you'll be you can purchase a subscription per month instead of paying for the full amount, which is affordable. Once you get to this calls that you're going to be making every day, you can be able to be catching these moves. So euro dollar, yeah, euro dollar is still going to be pushing a bit high. We might end up seeing price come back to this highs. So we might be seeing price break this high and then come for sales. But if that doesn't happen, that means that we'll just be reacting from this point. But you can see we are at weekly demand that is pushing pricing. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So we'll either turn from this point or to this point. Hope you guys have enjoyed this session as much as I have. Recording will be shared. Cheers.